we ask that you unmute yourselves. We usually do that towards the end of the meeting. Give everyone a chance to participate with questions and either raising their hand through Zoom or actually raising your hand physically. I just mentioned we're recording the meeting. And if you have any technical issues, you can send us an email at contact@smtcmpo.org, or you can try calling our office. And there's some information on our website too. I'm gonna stop my share for just a second just to say hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, we've got like 21 folks here. My name is Danielle Kroll. I'm a senior transportation planner here at SMTC. And we're gonna, a lot of your names are familiar. We're gonna follow the usual format of our Forum on Active Transportation meeting that we're holding today. I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen and we'll get started with our meeting here. Let's see. All right. Screen sharing. Everyone can see my screen okay? Yep, okay. All right. And now it's not forwarding. Let's see, there we go. Okay, so the format of our meeting, we're gonna do, I'll do kind of welcoming everybody right now. And we will get into member agency updates. And then today's format, we're mixing it up a little bit. We're actually having our staff present a handful of updates on studies that we've been working on recently. We actually have quite a bit to share, and then we've got some brief updates on some other ongoing projects that are related to bicycle pedestrian transportation planning. And then we also have some upcoming studies that we'll go over. Then we'll have about 20 to 25 minutes for question and answer and discussion. And then we can close out the meeting. And we're hoping as we go through this, if anyone comes up with some topic ideas or some suggestions for speakers, that you let us know. If you have any questions at all while we are going through the meeting, any questions that you want to ask of our speakers, please feel free to put those right into the chat and we'll make sure that we get to all of those. And again, towards the end of the meeting, when we get to the, excuse me, get to the Q&A, we will ask you to unmute and then you'll be able to unmute and speak and share your questions and your thoughts and your ideas with us. All right. So welcome and introduction. I'm going to just start with a really brief intro of our staff here at SMTC that we're going to be giving those presentations today. I'm Danielle Kroll. Again, I'm a senior transportation planner here at SMTC. We have Mario Colon, our assistant director, Mike Alexander, principal transportation planner, Tom Bardenett, principal transportation planner, Joey DiStefano, transportation planner 2, and Andrew Frazier, senior transportation analyst. So you get quite a broad spectrum of us from SMTC today. Let's see what we got here. I just mentioned, yeah, for those new to our forum, we hold questions till the end. Again, feel free to type questions into the chat as we move along. And then just as far as meeting participation is concerned, we just a friendly reminder to just be respectful of one another as we go through our meeting today. Okay, so one of the first things that we're going to do today, usually it's me sharing some SMTC staff updates at this point, but because we are going to be getting more into depth on some of SMTC's projects, we're going to go right into our member agency updates. And these are the folks that SMTC works with. We produce planning products and planning efforts and studies on behalf of our member agencies that are part of SMTC. And so I am going to stop sharing my screen for a minute so we can see everybody. And Julie, are you good to go if we ask you to unmute yourself? And then Julie's a senior transportation analyst with New York State Department of Transportation. Go ahead,
Hello.
Julie.
All right, I think you let me unmute, so I should be all set. You can hear I'm lighting up. Good. Okay. So I work at the New York State Department of Transportation in our planning group. Usually we give an update. I kind of looked at my notes from last time. A lot of the things that I brought up in previous times are still kind of ongoing. because a lot of our projects take, longer amounts of time. Um, so I think last fall I mentioned we were going to be doing a round of the Transportation Alternatives Program. That solicitation for projects that sort of supports this active transportation and includes a lot of bicycle and pedestrian improvement type projects and trails. Um, that was announced in, I think, November of last year, and we had the final applications due in March. So those are all done for this round. So my office is busy reviewing and rating applications from that. Um, I guess one of the things we did that was different this time was that every municipality that wanted to apply for a project, we made them submit like a draft of their applications in the late winter time, so that we could give them feedback and kind of see what kinds of things they were working on and help them make it a better project for the final application. So that worked out. It was optional before, but this time it was required, and I think that really helped our process this time get better projects. Um, and then I guess other things going on right now. Last year we had a draft transportation master plan that was out for review, and that was circulated around. And I think that's going to be coming out in the next couple of months as a final report that's going to be published on our website. And then we are also still working on another plan that kind of offshoots from that. It's our active transportation strategic plan. So we've had some internal meetings with different NISDOT staff and looking at that last fall. And I think that it's going to continue through this year. So more to come on that, probably at another meeting. That's it for me. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Julie. Really appreciate that. Let's see, next on my list here, I wanted to see if the Onondaga County Health Department has any updates. Kara Verbanek is a program coordinator for creating healthy schools and communities with the Onondaga County Health Department. And Kara, have you got anything to share?
I was hoping to know if we would have our grant yet, but we don't. So we wrote another round of funding for another 5 years back in December, and our grant ends May 31st. So hopefully we will hear soon as to what's going on. So we've been trying to wrap up some projects, but we connected with Javier with Syracuse Urbanism recently with his Community Streets project that he put in for. So we were able to purchase some of the paint and delineator posts for that project for them. And they're hoping, I think, to get that going Memorial Day or around then. Um, and so we're waiting for the grant. And then we're also been helping with the regional market with their infrastructure changes, crosswalks, got them some additional pedestrian signage and things like that around there. And Lexi had something to share as
Oh,
well.
great. Okay. Let me ask her to unmute. Oh, not working. There you go. Oh, I think you have to unmute. Try unmuting. Unless it's just me that can't hear.
No.
Now we gotcha. Oh, nope.
Wait, no.
Okay, now
It
try. I'm
says
sorry.
she's unmuted, but it's not. We're not hearing.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there
There.
we go. Perfect.
Okay,
Thank
perfect.
you.
Um,
Sorry.
so we have also been working with Karen Deaton, who is a parent on the Ed Smith Elementary
Oh, yeah.
PTO on their bike bus. We were able to purchase some reflective vests for the parent volunteers to wear and a tire pump for their bike fix-it station. May 6th is National Bike Walk Roll to School Day. And so for that month, they're going to be encouraging students to walk to school and bike to school, and they're hoping to work with the gym teachers to keep track of that. And hopefully we'll be able to use that data for future projects with the bike bus as well. And then they are having a spring carnival in June to wrap up the school year, and we're hoping to do some sort of bike swap or bike fix-it station at that event too, to just promote more kids to be physically active and bike to school as well. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff happening with that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that it's really gaining traction. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Let's see, I need my glasses here. Actually, I need to open a quick email. Bren Dice with Centro wasn't able to be here today, but she did send me her updates for the meeting today. So I am going to, let's see, find where I put those and just read them quickly to y'all. Her Centro updates are as follows. They are working on an upcoming collaboration with the VO scooters for the first last mile scooter to bus connection. But she said to watch their social media for more details in the coming weeks. They are also moving forward on their Better Bus Onondaga system redesign. They had a public hearing last week, and it said they're still accepting comments through tomorrow, April 30th. So please check out their website for more information on the changes that they're planning for summer of 2027. I will put the link into the chat. It's www.centro.org/betterbusonondaga. Where you can go read about that. I'm going to throw that into the, oh, Tom's already done it for me. Thank you. So that's the Centro update. Let's see. I saw Kevin. All right, we'll have Kevin Busa is a transportation planner with the City of Syracuse Department of Public Works. So we will ask you to unmute. Okay, go ahead, Kevin. Floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining the call and obviously your interest in bike ped stuff in the city of Syracuse. So definitely appreciate this group over the years. Couple quick things from the city's point of view. We're obviously doing our typical traffic calming projects. This is kind of a supplemental to a lot of the other initiatives that we're doing. We're doing the red light speed cameras. We're doing the school bus arm cameras. We're doing the school zone automated enforcement program. Just trying to get cars to slow down is kind of one of our main priorities. And I think that's obviously when you're walking and biking in the city of Syracuse, it's also a safety issue as well. So it's important to kind of, take some of these streets back and design them better. So from our upcoming year, I can both drop this in the chats, but also, oh, it says my chat is disabled. You guys are blocking me from the chat, maybe.
I'm not sure.
Is there any way I can?
Kevin, is it the link I just dropped in, your traffic calming?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
I guess you have a superior account than I do, but so yeah, thanks for dropping that in. That gives you kind of our upcoming projects coming up this year. There's going to be a bid this spring and then one midsummer as well to wrap up the list here. But it's important. These are neighborhood streets. They complement some of the other things that we're trying to do, but they're a good mixture of striping projects, which are really adding bike lanes, trying to narrow travel lanes down to 11-ish feet instead of, some of these roads have 18 feet wide for travel lanes. It's just way too much from a car's perspective. It gives you the incentive to speed and go quickly. So getting those travel lanes down, even with a white edge line is really key in neighborhoods. And also greenway treatments are, we don't just slap sharrows anymore in the city of Syracuse. We're really trying to go after these greenway treatments, which are using, multiple different tools, including speed humps, additional signage, additional crosswalks, pavement markings, signage, reducing the speed limit to 25 miles an hour on these roads. And it's really through neighborhoods to try to, get cars to slow down on neighborhood streets. So obviously those are paint and signs. We are going after certain grants. We applied for West Side Trail TAP grant. Was that I think we were awarded last year. And that'll go from downtown through the art park, over an abandoned railroad bridge, over to Magnolia. We did get that. We also applied for another one that's about $8 million for the near west side. We just applied for that this last application season. So to be determined if we get that one, but that would be another west side focused bike infrastructure improvement project. Obviously, when we're going through bigger projects, James Street, things like that. We're working with engineering over at the Regional Transportation Center, their projects, things like that. So we are in the room, included with 81 as well, advocating on behalf of bike and pedestrians in the city. So obviously there might be some questions at the end, but I also want to introduce Megan Vitale, who's recently hired as Vision Zero for the city of Syracuse. So I don't know if she wants to give 2 sentences of her song and dance, but now's the time.
Sure. Kevin, can you hear me? Oh,
Yep.
okay. Wasn't sure if I was allowed to unmute myself, but yes. So hi, I'm Megan Vitale. I am the Vision Zero coordinator for the city of Syracuse. Just started in this position in February. And really the goal of this position is to implement the Vision Zero action plan that was adopted by the city last fall. So in this first year, some of the goals are to get the Vision Zero Advisory Committee up and running again. And we're looking to start a quick build safety projects program. We're very much focused on the high injury network that was identified in the Vision Zero action plan. So that is the 25 intersections and 25 miles of roads that were identified with to have half of the severe crashes in the city of Syracuse. So you can see that map in the plan on our website. I can drop that link in the chat, or maybe Kevin's putting in the bike infrastructure, or maybe somebody else can drop in the Vision Zero one. But yeah, those are 2 of the big goals to get moving on this year. So excited about the new role.
All right, awesome. Congrats, Megan. And thanks for the update. I think those are all the updates we have from our member agencies today. I don't think we have anyone from County DOT on unless I'm mistaken. And I don't know if we figured it out yet, but hopefully we can figure out a way for everybody to be able to put some questions into the chat box. I'm wondering if I can. If there's like a special way to do that. But we will figure that out here as we go through. All right, so next on the agenda, I don't really need to share my screen to show this, but we're going to get into some of our SMTC project updates. We've got a few that we're going to go into a little in a little more detail about these projects, and the first one that we've got on our list is the Midler Ave and Newcourt Ave multimodal study project, and Tom Bardenett is going to share an update on that. Oh, I gotta hear you. There you go.
Yeah, I should have done that before I shared my screen because then it got hidden from me. So, but now I'm good. Hi, as Danielle mentioned, I'm Tom Barnett, Principal Planner with SMTC. So the study I'm talking about is the Midler Ave Newcourt Ave multimodal study. This study kicked off last year. Right now we're kind of finalizing some concept designs and gearing up for doing some public engagement later this spring into the early summer. The idea behind, there we go. Nope. Why is this not presenting the way I want to? Okay, I guess I gotta go on this side. So the study corridor crosses over 3 municipal lines. It goes between the city of Syracuse, the town of Salina, and the town of DeWitt. And this is something that we heard a lot about in our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is our long-range vision for the community, for our region, is a lot of infrastructure stops at the municipal line, primarily at the city line, thinking about sidewalks, bike lanes. There's not a whole lot of connectivity across these municipal boundaries. And part of that is just the way that roads are funded and the way projects are developed. The city can only do things within the city. The state can only do things on their facilities. So really kind of taking this opportunity as a way to bring everyone together from each of these municipalities, each of these road owners, to kind of create a shared vision across the line and make sure that infrastructure is cohesive, because we don't experience those boundaries when we're out there walking or riding a bike. So we need to try and make things a little bit more seamless across them. So this is the study area corridor. Right now, there are bike lanes on Court Street within the city of Syracuse that were installed this past fall, and that was one of the things that kind of preempted this study. Was the city was installing these facilities, it was reaching the end of the municipal line, and how do we kind of keep that going across? So I just want to walk through some pictures of what the corridor looks like currently, to get a sense of how it changes character in these different zones. So this is within the city of Syracuse along Court Street. Then when it hits the Tonsilina line in Lingcourt, expands out to be a 4-lane roadway. Still fairly low traffic volumes. Definitely a street that was built at a different time. The picture at the beginning of this is from 1963 or so. Court Street has not substantially changed in the Tonsilina since then. That street looks very similar today. So this is it on the ground near Roxford Road. This is in front of Lingcourt School, which is a K-8 school that serves the neighborhood. There's a lot of pedestrian activity at that crossing at school dismissal and at the beginning of the school day. We had some great conversations with the superintendent there to kind of get a sense of how the street works, some of their concerns around speeding, especially around drop off and pickup time, and how to kind of address those concerns. At Teal Ave, they're again just east of Teal Ave. The road opens up into more of like a highway-esque design, as you can see here, as it heads out towards Carrier Circle, Military Circle, and then Carrier Circle. Again, speeds pick up, the road widens out, and becomes just a little bit less appealing of a place to be if you're not within a car. Then it transitions into Newcourt Ave, which is an area surrounded by a lot of smaller industrial businesses. This is one of those areas that we identified also within our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, where there's a lot of jobs, but they're all from smaller firms, and really trying to improve access for people, again, who don't drive, don't have access to a vehicle. And then transitioning back in towards the city, this is the intersection with North Midler and Newcourt Ave. Again, there's some industrial uses on the left-hand side of the picture that you can't really see. And that transitions back into more of a residential neighborhood as you get into Eastwood on Midler. And this is North Midler right here. Again, primarily single-family, two-family homes, some small apartment complexes, but primarily residential. The James Street Midler Ave intersection, which if you're in that area, it is very busy, a lot of turning movements. This is one of those intersections that is on the high injury network that Megan had mentioned as part of the Vision Zero program. This has been a focus of some of our analysis, and really trying to think through what type of issues that we can actually address through this project. And then further down on South Midler, again, going back into that more residential character, even though this stretch is fairly busy, especially since it leads right to a on-ramp to 690. So this really acts as one of those main north-south routes through Eastwood. So I wanted to walk through those so that you can kind of see this is a long corridor. It goes through a lot of different contexts. And so it's trying to think through what can we do to make a cohesive network through this, but also reflect the changes of how that space is used, and make sure those uses are still able to function. So we had a public survey out in the fall. We had 230 some odd responses, with a pretty high rate of responses in the Lingcourt area. One of the benefits of the school really got involved with it and shared it through their social media and through their parent groups. So we had a good response, especially along that section of Court Street. Through all of the corridors, drivers felt more comfortable using the roadway than anyone outside of a vehicle. As you kind of look at those pictures, it kind of makes sense, especially along those wider portions of Court Street. Speed, no matter where we were, where people were talking about on the corridor, speed was the number one concern. That was specifically called out time and time again in front of the Link Court School. Again, those roadways are built for speed in a lot of ways. They're signed for 20 miles per hour in front of the school or 30 miles per hour on the rest of Court Street, but doesn't necessarily lend itself to thinking in those terms. People also identified street crossings and driver inattention as a common complaint. Not feeling like when they are trying to cross the street, that they're being seen, and that making them feel a little bit less comfortable being able to use that space. And then some confusion and frustration over changing road design. Sometimes we were in some ways fortunate and unfortunate of doing the survey right as the city was implementing their bike lanes. So there's a lot of people who were just confused about what was happening. They didn't really know. We think that's just one of those things where people will get used to it, and but that initial change sometimes instigates some fear. But I think overall that people are starting to see the benefits of that. We just happened to catch them at a time when they weren't too happy with construction happening anymore. But the overall feeling through the entire corridor, which the corridor stretches about 4 miles, is this feeling that's very car centric. Outside of the new bike lanes on Court Street, there really isn't a lot of there's no other bike facility. There are sidewalks throughout the whole corridor, but some of them feel a little bit more welcoming than others. I think if you're looking through those, if we went back to the photos, you'd see some areas that are a little bit more pleasant to be walking around, and then other areas that probably aren't lending themselves to you wanting to go out there and take a stroll anytime soon. And again, that's the different characteristics, but how do we kind of make this feel a little bit more cohesive? We also asked in that survey what type of improvements people would like to see. And pedestrian improvements were by far the most popular. Lighting, safer crossings, trying to add some shade and street trees where possible. Those were really some of the priorities that seemed to kind of rise to the top. Bike infrastructure was a little bit lower, and some of that's a little bit the divisiveness of how streets should be used. And some of it, I think, was also some people wanting to vent their frustration through the survey. But even saying that, there was still strong support in some of the facilities. Again, this was activity where you ranked different ideas from 1 to 10. So you saw something like a separated bike facility seeing strong support, but also some strong negative sides. And so it's trying to find a balance between those two worlds. So taking all this in, taking in the data that we have, right now we're in the middle of developing our concepts that we're going to present to the public in the near future. And some of the things that we're looking at recommending, or at least showing concepts, are road diet along Court Street, really taking that 4-lane road down to 3, improving some of those turning movements, but also giving us space to implement some other more active modes of transportation in that corridor. The use of pedestrian refuge island, that's something that we're exploring the use of in front of Link Court School to kind of tighten that intersection up a little bit, make drivers feel a little bit less comfortable so they slow down, and as well as improve that crossing that students use each day. Looking at bike facilities, finding ways to implement using cycle tracks or shared use paths in different areas along the corridor. Depending on the context, depending on what the available space is, we really want to focus on things that are more achievable based on where the curb line is, so that we can implement them a little bit quicker, perhaps. Implementing some different pedestrian crossing phases, thinking about ways to reduce conflicts with vehicles by having a pedestrian all-cross phase. Hardening some of the center lines so that vehicles can't make those quick turns or last-minute turns as easily, so that they're forced into a wider, safer turn, to reduce some of those conflict points that we've noticed. And then also trying to narrow crossings in other places and provide additional crossings. One thing we heard on Midler is that there's not a lot of crossing opportunities. So finding opportunities to implement a rectangular rapid flashing beacon to draw attention that there might be pedestrians crossing there, as well as tightening up those intersections so that hopefully drivers are slowing down as they approach them, and making that crossing a little bit safer. So I'm just throwing this very simple map up here. This is still very much a draft. We just had a meeting with our advisory committee earlier this week, and we're still receiving some feedback from them. But this is kind of what we're looking at in terms of some of those ideas and where they might be eventually turned into concepts and recommendations. But really trying to take in the whole corridor as much as possible and connect into what the city is also doing and our other member agencies, making sure the facilities work with one another. But yeah, so that's where we're at right now. Definitely stay tuned to what we're doing. We're hoping to have a public meeting sometime in June. So that will be coming out through our social media and our email list. So yeah, that's what we got for some Court Mid there.
All right, great. Thanks, Tom. Let's see, next up for our SMTC overviews, we have the Bear Trap Creek Connector Study, and Joey is going to share an update on that. So go ahead, Joey.
Thank you, Danielle, and thank you, Tom, for that wonderful presentation. Everyone can hear me, correct? And everyone can see the presentation? Yes? All right, wonderful. Well, thank you again, everybody. This is the Bear Trap Creek Connector Study. I'm very excited to share a quick summary of it with you. So quick overview of the purpose of this project. This was a project that is looking to connect the existing Bear Trap Creek Bikeway that exists in Mattydale in the town of Salina down to the Central New York Regional Market area. That's primary purpose of this project. The secondary purpose is to examine ways that this trail can then ultimately connect into the surrounding bike and trail network, meaning the Empire State Trail, the Loop the Lake Trail, and the Onondaga Creek Walk. So let's give ourselves a little bit of perspective. You can see here on this map, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but up here to the northeast is Mattydale, to the south is the north side of Syracuse, and over to the west would be the Galeville and Chestnut Hill communities of Liverpool and the town of Salina. This orange line right here that goes through Mattydale and connects ultimately down to 7th North Street is the Bear Trap Creek Bikeway. I want to take a second to note how interesting and unique this is in our area. It's just over 1.5 miles long, and there are 3 trailheads in the Mattydale Shopping Plaza at the north, the 7th North Trailhead down by the Pilot Truck Stop to the south, and 1 trailhead in the middle in the Mattydale neighborhood on Richfield Boulevard. Now, what makes this really special is that it's one of 3 crossings for bikes across I-90, and it's the only one over I-90. The other 2, one is on Electronics Parkway. You can see on the green line on the the left of this map, and the other one is the Loop the Lake Trail at the outlet of Onondaga Lake. So again, the purpose of this project is to connect the Bear Trap Creek Bikeway, this orange line, down here in the south, the Central New York Regional Market area, as well as to connect to the surrounding bike network, which in this case means the existing Murphy's Island Trail, as well as the future anticipated on Loop the Lake Trail. So this is a list of all the different meetings and analyses that we had gone through for this process. This is the study area. It was defined as the boundary between 7th North Street, East Hiawatha Boulevard, and I-81, although we did go a little bit outside the study area to examine those connections. We looked at a ton of studies going back 1.5 decades now. that are all listed here. And we summarize them all the recommendations and all those trails and all those studies with all the public engagement into this one map here. The one that we did not add to this yet was the Town of Salina Comprehensive Plan, which came out in the middle of this study process. Which just they recommended a trail down Terminal Road that would connect along Lake Creek, which we will get back to in a moment. So let's identify and summarize our issues and opportunities with connecting this trail that ends right here at 7th North Street down to the Central New York Regional Market. So one of the biggest issues with this connection would be this intersection right here of 7th North Street and Terminal Road. It is an incredibly wide segment of road, but most notably what makes it so dangerous is the heavy vehicle traffic pulling in and out of this truck stop. You saw in the previous map, this is very close to the intersection of I-81 and I-90, and this is the only facility in our metropolitan planning area that services trucks in this way. And so there's a lot of trucks pulling in and out. In addition, there are many trucks pulling out from the city boundary towards the highways as well. But of course, you can see that this is being used by this one cyclist right here that we caught during our field work. Another big issue and barrier is this rail bridge, the CSX rail bridge over 7th North. You can see it's tall enough for heavy vehicles to fit under, but it's not very wide to build and think about a lot of bike and ped amenities on the shoulder or the side of the road. An issue and opportunity here, while this does sort of block the movement of bikes and peds to the western neighborhoods in Galeville, the I-81 opportunity, the right-of-way provides a great opportunity to build some more trails through there. This characteristic with the rest of the Bear Trap Creek Bikeway, as well as looking at some on-road treatments like in Luther Ave in this internal road network up here. One segment of road that was recommended by pretty much every single study that we examined was this small section under another CSX rail bridge, which is along Park Street. You can see a picture here of a cyclist going through, going against traffic, approaching that bridge. One opportunity is utilizing the existing Lake Creek Trail, which is largely in disuse. But this one bridge that is underneath I-81 seems to be, to the untrained eye, in quite good shape. Another opportunity, this right through the study area is Lake Creek, which is right on the boundary of the city and the town. This property along the creek is all owned by National Grid and is also a Superfund site. So that does provide an opportunity for some payment as amenities, as we've seen in the southwest corner of the Loop the Lake Trail on Onondaga Lake as well. As Kevin Busa at DPW noted earlier, we have a lot of roads with really wide widths. This one road is 36 feet, 18-foot lanes, and no bike or no parking allowed on it. So there's a bunch of opportunities to increase bike treatments on those facilities. And last opportunity I want to mention are all those three circles that just jumped in at the same time. At the top is these are all different existing projects that different organizations are working on right now. So at the top, that long skinny one along 7th North, County DOT is going to be conducting a pavement project on there, which will include some improvements to the bike and ped facilities as well. They're going to be putting on bikeable 6-foot shoulders along there, which don't currently exist, as well as increasing some ped amenities at that intersection that is so problematic. Additionally, the city is doing their project in the regional market area, increasing bike and pedestrian amenities around the roads immediately adjacent to the regional market. And then finally, the Loop the Lake, the final phase of Loop the Lake, which would ultimately connect the Murphy's Island Trail that exists up to the village of Liverpool. This is a great opportunity for this plan to plug into the existing trail network. So this here is a map of the Superfund boundary. You can see 7th North Street up top. You can see ID1 to the west, and this orange boundary is where the Superfund site is. This provides a great opportunity for building some sort of connection for bikes and peds along this corridor. So let's talk about the public engagement that we have. As you saw at the beginning, this area has been studied a lot over the last 15 years. So we didn't do a full public engagement effort. However, we hosted 2 focus group meetings. Here's a picture from our first meeting of me and Danielle talking with a bunch of stakeholders that were invited to pinpoint and really focus in on some of the specific wants, needs of not just the people who are excited about bikes, but also the trucking, our partners in the trucking industry who need to utilize this pilot truck stop and the services there. We've also got comments from the EPA for the specific sub-site within the study area. Ultimately, from our first meeting, we came up with 5 key principles of good bike infrastructure, as listed here, as well as 2 big takeaways from our second meeting. Number 1 being a strong preference by both cycling advocates and heavy vehicle industry partners for separated facilities, as well as a lot of specific ideas and preferences for those treatments, specifically one here being countdown pedestrian timers. Okay, so what are the ideas that we came up with? So we ultimately came up with 3 potential paths to connect the Bear Trap Creek Bikeway to the regional market. Before we get into those 3 paths, the 2 things that I want to mention. Number 1, the study explicitly does not suggest any treatments along Terminal Road. Due to all the heavy vehicles moving in and out of that corridor, it was be incredibly stressful for any sort of facility along that path. And secondly, there would have to be some strategic signage under this rail bridge over here. The purple dotted lines are the OCDOT plans at North Street and then Loop the Lake, and this orange dotted line over here is the city's project in the regional market. So this green line, as you can see, that connects the trail along Lake Creek, this is most preferred by our focus group and other people that we chatted with. This would include a shared use path that would connect along the side of the road, separated from the side of the road, connect down Lake Creek, plug into the existing Lake Creek Trail, and then connect into the city through Park Street. In the meantime, a more city-focused treatment plan could be over here. This, if you go up Hiawatha, we suggest utilizing that wide road width to create some buffered bike lanes, as well as creating some shared use paths and some strategic crossing along this small section of 7th North. Lastly, if all else cannot happen, we suggest a third option, which would include utilizing a lot of on-road paths of the old 7th North, Luther Ave, neighborhood greenway treatment, as well as utilizing that ID1 right-of-way to get down to the same part where the Lake Creek Trail gets you. Finally, last things that we recommend in this big outline are a road diet along this small section of Park Street under the bridge, as well as a separated shared use path with flex posts along Park Street to connect up to the Candle Factory. And then, of course, connecting to the Loop the Lake Trail as well. So here is a map of our 3 different paths that I just walked us through. Next, I'm going to go through some photo simulations so we can get through, get a better perspective of what these might actually look like in the future. So this is looking at 7th North Street. You can see that's that intersection with Terminal Road and the pilot truck stop, as well as the Bear Trap Creek Bikeway, which is just next to that north arrow. You can see Lake Creek up on the top. This is looking towards the south. This is what the OCDOT's current plans are to restripe and repave this area, which includes reducing a lot of the pavement width in the shoulder that exists today. What we're potentially suggesting is a shared use path that would be separated from the road to first get you across 7th North Street, then down 7th North Street to Lake Creek, and then going from there into the city. Along here, we show these sort of solar paneled lights that don't have to be connected to the grid, as well as some other placemaking amenities like a fishing pier and a small kayak and canoe launch. This picture looks towards the town of Salina under that 7th North Street rail bridge. There's some really pretty metalwork if you look up, but there is clearly a lot of a mess here on the shoulder. What we found that even though there is a lot of space in between the road and the columns, there is about 5 or 6 feet of space in between the columns and the concrete wall, which provides enough for not only protection, but those structural supports for cyclists and pedestrians to walk through. This would be replicated on the other side of the bridge as well for pedestrians and cyclists moving in the other direction. Now, moving more into the city, this is showing 7th North Street in the city, looking towards that rail bridge you can see in the distance. These posts have been here for as far as Google Street View goes, I think 2008. And what this study is has looked at is formalizing this area, removing those posts, and putting in a shared use path separated from the road. This would also have to include some pedestrian crossing amenities across 7th North Street here. I should say during our field work, we saw a good number of cyclists and pedestrians moving along this road. So it is being used already. Here we are on East Hiawatha Boulevard, looking north towards Eaton Krause Hines. These are those 18-foot lanes in either direction. This provides a lot of space for a buffered bike lane in either direction. Now, the FHWA Bike Network Guide does put, if we look at the AADTs, meaning the vehicles per day, average vehicles per day, as well as the speed of those vehicles, it puts us right here in this light blue area, which would suggest a buffered bike lane would be appropriate here. Here we have, I'm not going to get into too many of the details of this, but this is an oblique view of Park Street going through the middle. You can see I-81 on the top right corner, and as well as all those access ramps that get you to all the different roads in Liverpool and the town of Salina. This concept is really focused on the connectivity of all of these different paths to the regional trail network, as well as the neighborhoods. So quickly going around the clock, at about 2 o'clock, we see the path that connects up to 7th North Street. At about 5 o'clock, you can see a connection down to under that CSX rail bridge on Park Street to the regional market. We suggest a road diet and a widened path along the north side of that. If we keep going, you can see a path that goes underneath this access ramp and would ultimately connect to the county's final Loop the Lake phase. And then at around 11 o'clock, you can see a path that would connect to the Candle Factory Apartments, which are primarily in the town of Salina, but there's a small section in the city of Syracuse. So let's go back onto the ground and check out what this could look like. This is looking at Park Street towards this Candle Factory Apartments. We were inspired by the treatments over in the town of DeWitt on Towpath Road to examine what could happen there. So there is plenty of existing road width, as you can see here, to include a shared use path with flex posts. It's with 11-foot lane, 8 to 10-foot path, with a 3-foot buffer in the middle for those flex posts. Over here, this is looking into the city. You can see there's the CSX rail bridge in the distance. This is Park Street again. And what we're suggesting is looking at expanding that sidewalk and creating a crossing so that people could connect to the Loop the Lake Trail. Last few elements that we did a sidewalk audit of Hiawatha Boulevard, as well as looked at a specific intersection of Hiawatha, specifically Hiawatha and Grant. So this is what it looks like, Hiawatha going north-south, Grant going east-west. You can see an existing buffered bike lane on Grant. Right now, accessible improvement for the city, something that they've been doing in a lot of places, like 2 blocks away here on the intersection of Grant and Lemoyne, would be to stripe some bike boxes. That would increase the safety of the turning and all sorts of movements for cyclists. However, you could also build, another idea would be to build these protected intersections for cyclists, so that cyclists move a little bit more as a pedestrian and less like a car. It was inspired by this concept here, which is a lot, but we could be a quick build project involving flex posts and paint, similar to these images here. And that is what I got. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you, Joey. I am going to, let's see. I am now going to share an update on the our Nottingham Road study. Just give me 1 second here. I'll share my screen. Make sure I pick the right. And can everyone see my screen? It looks like you can from what I've got. Okay.
Yep, we can.
So, all right, thank you. So my update's going to be a little bit shorter than the others that we just heard from. But we are looking at our study is called the Nottingham Road Multimodal Improvement Study. And the purpose of this project is to take a look at the Nottingham Road corridor between Meadowbrook Drive and West Cliff Road, which is just south of the Tecumseh Elementary School. And essentially, we're looking at improving safety and consistency along the corridor here, as well as multimodal access along the route as well. So as I just mentioned, the study area runs between Meadowbrook Drive and West Cliff Road on Nottingham, and it basically touches 3 city neighborhoods, Westcott, Meadowbrook, and University, as well as 2 Town of DeWitt neighborhoods, Bradford Heights and the Drumlins area here. Some of the data that we've collected, the initial data collection, we did, like we have with our other studies, we've taken a look at previous studies. We look at demographics, land use and zoning, transit, crashes, traffic, ownership and right of way, and we do some field work. We take measurements, we take photos, and see what's currently out there and how we can make some improvements. So we actually had a few SMTC studies that we've looked back to, as well as the City of Syracuse bike plan, and then some kind of taking a step back, Town of DeWitt comprehensive plan, and then plan Onondaga County, which is covers a more regional area. And then very recently, the city has worked on a tip project along East Colvin Street, and I have not been out there in the last couple of months to see if it's complete yet, but it's nearing completion. Last I looked, the crosswalks weren't painted yet, but that's very close to completion. So what basically we found for this study is that all of these previous studies kind of lead up to almost touching Nottingham Road. So it's kind of like we want to close that gap and take a look at this piece and how it relates to those other studies. So as far as land use, for those of you that are familiar, there's got a few commercial properties that front Nottingham Road. We've got those 2 older style suburban shopping centers, strips of commercial spaces. They're set back from the road. They've got large parking lots in the front. Got Drumlin's Country Club. There's some public use areas. We've got some churches, some schools, and then there's also residential uses and a few smaller commercial developments sprinkled in. And so this project, the intent is to take a look at improving multimodal access to and from like the banking, groceries, pharmacies, restaurants, all along the corridor. And very, very briefly, for transit, there's 2 primary transit lines. Top Shopper and SU Drumlins. There is 1 bus shelter. There were 2, and recently Centro has recently removed one at Drumlins Country Club. And then we'll be updating, we'll put a few updates in the report as well, as far as the Better Bus project goes for Centro as well. As far as traffic, AEDT is our average annual daily traffic. How much traffic is out there on an average day? For the majority of the corridor, there are between 4,000 and 6,000 vehicles, but as you head from Tecumseh Road south, Tecumseh Road to Lewiston Drive, there's between 6,000 and 8,000 vehicles. There's a little bit more right in the center here of the project area. Okay, so this is one interesting aspect of this project for us. Ownership of Nottingham Road. So there's some interesting right of way as well, but there's joint ownership between both the City of Syracuse and Onondaga County. So north of Spade Ave, from here and heading north, that is Nottingham is solely owned by the city of Syracuse, and it's their road to work on. Between Spade Ave and Lewiston Drive, the city owns the western piece of the road, and then basically from Center Line west, and then the county owns from Center Line east. So that will require some collaboration, obviously. And then from Lewiston Drive heading south, that Nottingham Road is all county owned. We also have gone out and done field work, taking a look at existing sidewalks, existing bike facilities, that bus shelter. We don't have a lot right on Nottingham, so that's what we're looking at, making some suggestions for making some connections there. I do know the town has sidewalk along Waring, which we'll add to this map later, but that's another connection point. But these are the things that we're looking at to make these connections. I do want to make sure I mention this. We have a public survey out there, and our initial end date for this was April 17th, but we extended it. We heard from a few folks that had kind of heard about it after the fact, so we opened it back up. So far, we've had, I think, close to, I don't know, 260 or 280 responses so far. So once we close this, I'll be going through and we'll be creating a summary similar to what Tom had done for the Midler app project. We got the word out by physically going out and posting some signs at those at the two shopping areas, and then along a few of the businesses there, and then also just outside the study area, we hit a library, coffee shops, to try to spread the word. And then of course we reached out to schools, churches, businesses. We sent a couple emails. Also, I already said schools. We sent messages to them. Some of the neighborhood groups, TNT is also the town of DeWitt. So we're trying to spread the word. If you know of anyone that lives in the area, or if you travel through here, we'd love to hear from you. We're basically asking folks how they interact with the study area, what businesses do they want to reach, need to reach, and how often, and how are they getting there? How often do you drive? How often do you bike? How often do you walk or use transit? Do you want to be able to use one of those? Do you want to be able to use a physical method more often, such as walking or biking? And what keeps you from doing that? So we're looking to have folks tell us where they experience issues along that corridor, and if there's anything else that they want to share with us. So that's my plug for hopefully hearing a little bit more. But we do have quite a few responses, which I'm really happy about. The next steps for the project, we're going to be summarizing that survey this coming month in May. And coming up with some suggested improvements, preliminary suggested improvements. We'll further refine those with our study advisory committee, have a draft final report, and then final report end of the summer here in August. So that's a very quick run through of the Nottingham study. So let me just see if anything here is me. Okay, I am going to stop my share, and we're going to pass it off to Mike, who's going to share about the West Monroe Route 49 corridor study. So you can take it away, Mike.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm aware that we're kind of right at our time limit for these presentations. So I've got the next three kind of topics. I'm going to see what I can do to make up some of the time here. So hopefully you guys are able to see the presentation. I can't see you guys anymore. Can somebody just chime in verbally and let me know if that's showing up all right?
Mike, I don't think you've shared it yet.
All right, so try one more time.
There you go.
How's that? Is that better
Got
for
it.
everyone?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, so as Danielle mentioned, I'm going to talk about the Route 49 mobility study. The study is essentially complete. We've already gone out to public review. Where we remain is we have to run this by our internal committees at SMTC, so the planning committee and the policy committee. Once we review them internally, the policy committee will hopefully acknowledge this is complete, and then we'll post it online for everyone's use. But just to kind of walk you through this is up north in Oswego County. We don't get to do too much planning up there, so this was a nice opportunity. So if you're familiar with where 81 is, closer to the Village of Central Square, where the Walmart is, there's a Ford dealership. This is kind of the area that we're looking at. So we've been asked to take a look at the Route 49 corridor, and this study was requested by the town of West Monroe, but it does contain 3 communities, town of Hastings, Village of Central Square, and town of West Monroe. And as a result of all the anticipated growth with Micron, our partners and neighbors up in Oswego are, concerned about what type of impacts any additional traffic will have on an already high trafficked corridor. And they want to know what type of growth will occur out there and how the road network will need to evolve to accommodate that growth. And as part of that, what we're trying to do is also accommodate, again, all road users, those who bus, bike, walk, and so forth. What's also interesting about our partners and neighbors up in Oswego County is that snowmobile use is pretty heavily a big portion of recreation and transportation up there. So, snowmobiles are allowed to cross roads at certain locations and certainly are allowed to travel along the road network. So looking at it through this lens as well was also an interesting element to incorporate for future improvement considerations. So as I mentioned, we're looking at the 2025 base here for the existing conditions. How do the 4 signalized and 4 unsignalized intersections that we're assessing work currently? And what we want to do is we look out to the year 2050 and we say, well, under the exact same road conditions as they currently exist now, when we factor up all this, 0.75% growth per year projection, which equates to about 18 to 20% anticipated growth over the next 25 years. What we found was through our micro simulation analysis, which I'm not getting into for this presentation, was that there are certainly some areas where elements, in particular movements at intersections, fail. So what we needed to do once we realized that out to the year 2050, we had to come up with mitigation improvements. So looking at adding perhaps a southbound left turn lane at a certain intersection with a northbound left turn lane, or an additional through lane to accommodate these new volumes and so forth. So once we were able to figure out what would work for all the vehicles, then we could figure out what works for everyone else as far as the bikes, the peds, and so forth. So we did a 2050 mitigation. So what you're going to see in the next few slides are the results and the concepts for the entire corridor. The biggest areas of concern within the corridor, we've developed some suggested recommendations and changes to the road network and how to incorporate things. Just to kind of give you a quick snapshot, I mentioned, it's Route 49. It extends, you can see right in the center is the village itself. To the left is town of Hastings. To the right is town of West Monroe. You can see the area within the oval itself is the area where I'm going to be showing you the next few concept plan slides. We're going to be starting over by Webb Ave. We're kind of close where it says Central Square, and I'm just going to be making my way down the corridor with 11 by 17 graphics as we approach Route 37 over the eastern side of the study area. So as we look close to Webb Ave, there's a couple elements I just want to point out. So on all of these graphics, we show bike lanes along the corridor. And we do that for 2 reasons. There's 2 primary options. There's bike lanes to accommodate the bikeways, but our actual recommended option is a shared use path. So where you'll see south along the southern part of the corridor here, you'll see a sidewalk, but we also, what we're saying is that sidewalk, if you're going to do bike lanes, you would do bike lanes with the sidewalk. But what we're ultimately suggesting is a shared use path along the right of way of the identified sidewalk that we're proposing. So both would work, but what's shown here includes both bike lanes and sidewalk. And that is consistently carried throughout all of the graphics that you're going to see. So the reason why we're suggesting a shared use path instead of doing bike lanes and a sidewalk is, again, to accommodate snowmobiles. So what we prefer to do is have 6-foot shoulders to accommodate the snowmobiles and some of the ATVs that are out there, and then have a separated walkway, bikeway, shared use path for everyone else. We're accommodating lighting in all of these. You can kind of see the lighting. You can see in this area on the far left, there's crossroads park. So we get sidewalks up to the park, and then there's really nothing past the park to the east. So we have a crossing with some RFP flashes. And I will point out there's two other main features on this graph. You have the snowmobile crossing and you have the railroad crossing. So the snowmobilers, you can see what we've done here, and hopefully you guys will be able to see my cursor, but the crossing in the road, the left turn bay here used to be a lot longer. What we're suggesting, given how few vehicles need to queue up in that turn bay, it's just to shorten that. That allows you to hatch out the center area and allow for a center staging area for the snowmobilers as they cross for safety improvements. If they need to, they can pause in that center area. So there's a lot of little nuances throughout here, but I just kind of want to point out some of the considerations we give. And just to walk you very quickly through the next few slides. So as we continue east, there's a bridge crossing across Little Bay Creek. Again, it's continuing with the 3 lanes, the center 2-way left turn lane and the shared use path to the south. And as you're coming up to the north here, you're getting into more of the commercial corridor. So again, you've got the twiddle going throughout most of the study area in this portion. The main intersection there is the Walmart. So Walmart would go up to the north. That's actually County Route 12A. So as I mentioned, shared use path along the south side of the road, some pedestrian crossings at that main intersection. And then once you get over there, then you can have some, again, side paths, shared use paths up to Walmart on the east side of the road. Once you get east of that main intersection, there would be shared use paths on both sides of the road along Route 49. And it only goes over a little bit further. I'll show you in the next one, but essentially those shared use paths will terminate at the Burger King and the McDonald's as shown in this graphic. Beyond there, now we're getting into the I-81 facility. The challenge at this location is that you've got a bridge crossing. The bridge is only so wide. So in order to make all of the, to accommodate the future anticipated traffic growth out to the year 2050, we've had to make some lane changes. So now it's 2 lanes in each direction to accommodate all that growth. And we also need a second northbound left off ramp off of 81. So in order to accommodate that, you can see it's 4 lanes across the ramp or across the bridge. The good news is there's not a lot of pedestrian generators to the east at the current time. So in the short term, there's really no massive need to have any pedestrian or bike facilities, but what we feel could be accommodated here again would be an enhanced shoulder, which would accommodate everyone in the short term. In the long term, should the state ever, replace this bridge, the idea would hopefully be to put in a little bit wider structure. As we move further east, there is a proposed sports facility. This is just right past the 81 area. So again, it'd be a 2-way left turn lane, which is what currently exists all throughout this area. And the shared use path would start at Gilmore and extend along Route 49, just along the northern part. And then finally, we get to the Route 37 intersection. Again, with the anticipated development, having the shared use path on the north side of Route 49, all the way to the intersection. And then beyond there, it's very rural, and we don't feel that there's any need in the anticipated future to have any bikeways or pedestrian specific facilities east of this intersection. But north and south, along that north-south route, Route 37, we are suggesting bikeways. So that's a very high level, very quick and dirty assessment. Certainly welcome any questions at the end about this. I will say that all the proposed amenities are anticipated to be within the existing right of way based on our understanding of where the parcel boundaries are. So there is a pretty wide right of way out there, which makes things easy. So as you hold up a second, I'm taking an intermission to switch out PowerPoint slides. Bear with me. Because those who know me, they know I hate technology. They know I hate clicking around on things. So So hopefully you guys are able to see this. Could somebody kindly just give me a verbal cue because I can't see you at the moment.
Yep, you've got it. Just hit slideshow and you should, there you
Brilliant.
go. You got it.
Okay. All right. So this hopefully will be quick and dirty. So some of you may be aware we're currently in the process of developing what's called a Cicero Active Transportation Plan. So the town of Cicero requested that we do this study. So we're currently underway. This came out of the town's comprehensive planning effort, and the town had identified the need to develop an active transportation plan. So what we're currently doing at the SMTC is we're doing what I'm referring to as a gap analysis. We're looking at anything from environmental constraints to what the recommendations have been in past plans. We're digitizing all of that into a series of maps. So this is a townwide effort. So we've got a townwide map that we'll be looking at, but we'll be zooming into specific locations within the town and superimposing those recommendations. Once we have all that information in there and then understand where some of the points of interest are that we want to connect, and the neighborhoods that we want to connect, and micron and so forth, what we'll do is we'll essentially come up with recommendations to close the gaps. We're going to look at this and take this from the standpoint of a technical assessment based on what could be incorporated within the existing right-of-way, within those constraints and so forth. And we're going to share that information with the town, and that will inform them on a variety of other efforts that they'll be engaged with going forward, including local waterfront redevelopment plan, which hopefully will have some money attached to it in the future, and certainly, inform decisions with Micron and future EIS suggestions and so forth. So hopefully we'll help guide some of those discussions. So I'll leave it there for this one. Again, look forward to talking with you guys. And then lastly, there's a few slides here about the bike commuter corridor study. You guys may recall, for those who attended the last full working group, we had our last meeting really got into this effort in a little bit more detail. I just want to give you a quick update on things. So really, as a quick overview, the study was prepared back in 2013. It was requested by NISDOT. It's a 100-mile corridor with about 77 roads owned by 15 different road owners. So multi-jurisdictional, of course, which, as discussed earlier, presents challenges to implementing as an overall network. The idea back in 2013 was that road owners would implement this over time through part of the 3R process, which is essentially as they go and repave the roads over time to start incorporating these bike lanes. But fast forward to 2026, you see in some areas this has been done, but in many areas there's still opportunities for incorporating bikeways. Again, the target group, although these facilities can accommodate anybody, it's a commuter corridor. So we're talking long distances, traveling on cycling at speeds up to 25 miles an hour, those who are comfortable riding with traffic and so forth. So you're talking up to 7 miles over a 45-minute commute time. What we're looking to do is link the city of Syracuse, in particular downtown University Hill, which is like the major employment center, with the outer suburbs. Probably aware of this graphic. This kind of shows the overall network itself. Primarily a mixture of bike lanes and sharrows to get this built. But back in 2013, I'll point out that, back then the Empire State Trail didn't connect all the way through Syracuse. Since then, it's been, of course, extended. So now we're looking to connect into that a little bit more and utilize that as an opportunity for the implementation, as well as Loop the Lake has been extending out. So in the short term, what we're looking to do is we're looking to identify some official spines, like what could we prioritize in the short term as the main corridors, and then build off of that in the future. We've engaged some discussions with the road owners recently, and those are still ongoing about, some of the ideas behind some of this, some of the challenges and so forth. So we're still looking at best approaches about how to make this happen from a practicality standpoint. So these are the areas currently under consideration for prioritization, and then again, build on this as time goes on. We'll package up summary tables, cost estimates, and so forth for any particular quarter that we identify. That way it's understood who has to work together, how, what funding sources, and what this could potentially cost. Again, our report's available online. If anybody's interested in seeing it, just look it up by year 2013. And that, I'll just pause there. So thank you all for your time.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mike. Let's see, I'm gonna ask Andrew to just give a brief update about the Empire State Trail, and then I'm gonna fly through what else I have to say, and then we'll have time for questions. All right,
Thanks,
go
Danielle.
ahead.
Yeah, great. No, I will keep it super brief. An effort that we have going on in this program year is our Empire State Trail Local Economic Opportunities Plan, Phase 2. We're building off of something that we did back in 2022, where we identified a few corridors that are maybe a few miles, from the existing Empire State Trail. And we had some outreach and to see if any towns or villages were interested in, kind of getting a deeper planning dive on some of those potential corridors. So we have 3 corridors that we're looking at, 1 in the town of Elbridge and 2 in the town of DeWitt. So over the course of the next 12 months or so, we'll put together kind of some preliminary planning concepts, and we'll share them with this group as we move further along. But that's just a quick little update.
All right, great, thank you, Andrew. I am gonna go back to sharing my screen really quick. Let's see. And of course, all right, let me get to. I am going to just share a couple of brief updates on a couple of our projects. You can see it on the screen. We've got, oh my goodness, sorry about that. Keep checking there. For community streets, we've got a couple of 3 projects in the pipeline for installation in 2026. Reviews of that design are underway. And I keep clicking. I'm trying to move something on my screen and it's not moving for me. There we go. The Reconnecting Communities pilot program, there was a public meeting held in March to review concepts for 5 study area corridors, and designs emphasize use of cycle tracks, enhanced ped crossings, traffic calming measures, reduced road widths, and the final draft of that report should be ready to go in the coming weeks for internal review. And then for our Thriving Communities program, we had staff from SMTC, Centro, the City, Center State CEO participate in a virtual workshop to discuss the small area plan, and that's going to look for opportunities to encourage transit-oriented development and improve bike and ped connectivity between 4 incoming BRT station locations and identify policy and funding opportunities. Oops. Sorry about that. For implementation. And then very, very briefly, we recently adopted our Unified Planning Work Program for the 26-27 year. It runs April to April, and this outlines the projects that we're going to be working on for a year. Or in some cases more than a year. I am just going to zip through these because all of the same information is on our website. We've got a Lafayette Road corridor study that we're looking at opportunities to continue bike infrastructure and ped improvements along Lafayette Road. Again, and I'm just sharing the ones that are primarily bicycle, pedestrian, or trail related. The Meadowbrook Drive corridor study will be looking at how to improve safety and consistency along this neighborhood route there. The Martisco to Atisco Lake Trail evaluation, we'll be looking at identifying route options for a trail that goes from Martisco Station Railway Museum into the village of Marcellus. And then for this project, the Greater Baldwinsville Ped and Bike Connective Corridor, if any of you are familiar with a 3 villages corridor study that we did a couple of years back, we're looking at complete streets to connect some of the parks in the towns of Lysander, Van Buren, the village of Baldwinsville. And that'll be a consultant effort. And then we've got the Shop City Mobility Study, where we'll be looking at ways to define the roadway network within the plaza there, including improved bike and ped access. Also look at addressing safety concerns at nearby intersections. And I'm gonna just Let's see, we have that. Let me see here. Oop. I just lost where I was at with this. Oop. And then, so I want to get right into question Q&A here. I usually try to end right at 5. I know at least a couple of SMTC staff I've checked with can stick around a few minutes after 5 to help answer questions. I do want to remind folks that May is National Bike Month, and we received some information that there's Bike to Work Day here in Syracuse. That information on your screen. It'll be on Friday, May 15th, which is National Bike to Work Day. So I just want to make sure we get to questions and some discussion as much as possible. And I also do want to say, if you have any ideas or thoughts on meeting topics or speakers, we'd really love to hear that. You can drop that into the chat or let us know either by email or raising your hand right now. So I'm going to stop my share so we can see everyone. And I want to see if anyone has any questions. You can raise your hand using the feature. I think it's in the React. Yep, there's in the React button below. Or if you want to just physically raise your hand, we can call on you. Give you some time to ask questions. And then whatever we don't get to now, you can send us your questions and we'll share them with everyone. Brent, I'm gonna ask you to unmute and go ahead and hopefully go ahead.
Thank you very much. A lot of information
Yeah.
to digest, but I have 2 overall safety concerns, which would involve anything doing with bike, pedestrian, streets. One is in terms of cars and drivers. In some places in the world, they paint curving so it's more visible to drivers. And while I don't expect all our curbs to be painted white and black or whatever the color might be, or even yellow, I do think where someone is making a left turn and there's an island that separates the bike path, or an island that separates the driving lanes, it seemed if that curb could be painted, it would be very helpful so that you know where the island is at night, or when you're making a left turn. For some of us, you have a lot to keep track of. Which lane are you going to? Is there traffic approaching, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one suggestion to consider, at least in some areas, painting the curb as opposed to relying on the I don't know what they are, reflective posts or other things that are sometimes used, but which gets damaged and lose their reflectivity over time. At least that's my limited observation. The other one is much more general. As a night driving at night, often pedestrians and other non-motorized vehicles are not very visible. Particularly in the city, the scooters or I don't even know the right word for them, that people can rent easily, and sometimes the lights are working and sometimes they're not. But the other overall idea, and I appreciate your time and listening, is to have reflective armbands or something very widely available, so that you could go to maybe every service stations or convenience store or other place, and for maybe 25 cents, maybe nowadays it'd have to be $1, but something you can readily purchase and put on your arm or leg or some part of your body, so that when you're walking at night, your visibility will be much greater. And I've occasionally bought those when I don't have a white hat or something, but I think that would make it a lot safer for pedestrians who, with my limited experience, are often not are walking in the street or in the bike lane, or not paying attention to traffic for some reason, not on the sidewalk, or the sidewalk is not. A lot of reasons people aren't on the sidewalks. Sometimes it's safety, but if reflective armbands were very readily available, and people were encouraged, by signage, can drivers see? I think that would be helpful. It's just, I'm
Okay.
just guessing. I'm just guessing. I don't know. Some people would ignore it. They'd rather buy some snack than an armband. But if they were low price, maybe subsidized.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion.
Great, great suggestions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Bob Haley, floor is
Yeah,
yours.
thank you. I hope it can hear me okay.
Yep.
Thank
Yep,
you,
sure
everyone.
can.
Hey, this is a great overview, excellent overview of so many projects. I know some of you individually, but I never know the comprehensiveness. This is terrific. Thank you all. I advocate for a couple of quick things, and I'll try and make it as quick as I can. One is pedestrian safety is the key. I was just out walking the Nottingham Road before this meeting, a little late to this meeting, and the intersection there near Tops, of course, like any intersection, has uniquenesses that are really hard to unbundle. Pedestrians walking, bikes, no stopping lane for pedestrians going to either the drugstore or I shouldn't say no stopping. There's one that's hard to get to, but the obvious one where to cross the street to a drugstore and to Tops is not safe. There's no sidewalk on the city side. That's interesting. You're talking about past the road, so you have to walk in the street. People are jogging. People are biking. Let me back off. Please add me to that list to help you study that project. I will somehow get right to you. Secondly, pedestrian safety is my number one key. I walk a lot more now, the senior years, happy to do it, nice to be out, and I see things all day long. I think as a region, I've advocated for this through all of the DOT project, and I'm still advocating for it on 81, which I participated in as an urban designer for 13 to 15 years. My point here is pedestrian safety. I think in dense pedestrian areas like the university should have all stop, four-way stop all the traffic, and get people used to this. We need to teach. They say Syracuse can't learn quickly about driving. Well, you got to teach them. So in the university area, the students are used to it, the drivers are used to it. For an always stop, you stop the cars first, you get a hesitation, you let the people go first. I've been trying to advocate this strongly with DOT for the almond in the city of Syracuse almond corridor, so that you can get back and forth between the hospitals and downtown, the residences and the university and downtown. If we became known as a region and pumped up pedestrian safety in all your projects, and they knew this region cared about it at this point, they would bring the speeds down to 20 to 25 miles an hour at all pedestrianly dense areas, and all stop crosswalks. I would advocate that you all think seriously and maybe move your margins of past preferences on this one and open up a new door where we could be more effective and save lives. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. All right. Have we missed anybody that had questions or comments? I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Oh, okay. Peter, I just sent you a request to unmute. All right, there we go.
Hi,
Go. All right.
can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, just very briefly, I appreciate the things SMTC are doing. It seems you're on some kind of learning curve. There's a little bit more design to the newer stuff. I don't know if I'm wrong with that, but and particularly I think it fits some of the design ideas in the 81 project, actually, of including more of I think as Bob mentioned, including more crosswalks, but also the potential for medians, uh, pedestrian islands, and so on. I think that's just, I support that idea, and yeah, I'm just wondering if there's an overall articulation for this, or if it's just something a direction you decide to go in, or
So you're asking kind of like the emphasis on some of these projects that we presented, utilizing some different traffic control or traffic calming techniques.
yeah, more or less.
I think some of that's kind of building out of a lot of things that are going on in the area. The 81 project being one, and their use of some of those potential projects. The city with their Vision Zero program action plan that kind of highlights some of these
Yeah,
techniques.
yeah.
There's a lot of new guidance on where these techniques are most useful. So it's really kind of building up. I think a lot of things have been building towards these being incorporated more often. I think there's a lot more openness to them. I don't think there's anything specific about like this group of projects. I think we've overall have been they've been recommended in past studies. I think we're just really we're kind of narrowing down on like these are things that people seem to support, and we really want to make sure that they're continually brought up wherever possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's even in our tradition, I guess. We have these boulevards around town, and these are I don't know, 1920s version of complete streets, right? The trees in the middle, or Meadowbrook in the middle, and I mean, there's you can find stuff online by one guy's Alan Jacobs, for example, who describes these things as inherently they're weird. It's a weird design, but in some cases safer. Um, because you sort of have these natural roundabouts at the intersections, and it just cars will go slower around a median like that. So maybe that's a good, interesting thing to explore. And it's kind of homegrown, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for none of us are reinventing the wheel. A lot we're borrowing from things that we know work or have seen in other places or have seen locally. So I think that's really the whole thing is figuring out what already works and finding ways to adapt that to the current context.
I would add too that I think we're seeing some of our road owners are becoming more receptive to some of these ideas, especially as we build out more. There's more bike lanes now. I feel like, yeah, like as Tom said, it's not really new per se. There might be a couple like nuances that show up now, but I think we're finding that some of the ideas are being embraced more, and therefore it's easier to, I mean, just keep the momentum going.
Cool. Thanks. Bob's got a question.
Sorry.
There you go.
Roundabouts are terrific. How do you all feel about roundabouts? I mean, we're learning, finally, we got some in the DOT. They weren't in the record of decision, you may remember. They came from the design build section of our industries. What's your view on encouraging roundabouts learning and efficiencies in our area, our region? Rochester's got some simple ones dotted all around its smaller villages and towns. They work terrifically. You folks have views on that?
I mean, speaking for myself, and I think a lot of us at SMTC, it's not, in general, we're very supportive of roundabouts where they fit. One of the biggest questions is, will it fit? There are some standards that need to be met in terms of size of intersections. I know personally, we briefly explored the idea as part of the Midler Newcourt Ave project on for James and Midler. The issue is just there's not really enough space with how close the building lines are. But where there's space, I think that is something that a lot more people are becoming more open to in this region. I don't know if Julie from NISDOT wants to say anything, since NISDOT's implementing a lot of these roundabouts now, or probably the majority of the roundabouts in our region are NISDOT owned and created. But I think people are seeing the benefits.
I guess I'll say that we are building out our expertise to figure out places where it might work better for different things. And as we, move along with different, you're catching me at the end of my workday, but
Sorry.
it's, we're progressing in that direction. And I think we have a good expert team in our Albany office that's been a good resource for our regional folks. As far as different solutions and figuring out whether it could possibly work, right? So there's some places we have definitely looked at in my time here where maybe the disparity of traffic at different legs of the intersection made it not a good candidate for a roundabout because it would be hard to find a gap to get into the circle. So it's not always the perfect solution, but we're getting better at that and making improvements for like alignments for things like the on-ramps that enter the circle, so it's more clear which lane you're going to be in instead of just good luck. So I think more to come. You'll see us do different things over time, and I think over the last couple of years we've been making different looks at the carrier circle area because that's a retro roundabout that doesn't maybe fit the current needs. And it's mostly been outside of the scope of our funding to do a giant project there to really modernize it, but we are looking at ways to sort of make improvements there when we can. So
That's good. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you. I am, we're almost at 5:10, so I'm gonna cut us off here, but if anyone has questions or ideas or thoughts, please email us or reach us. You can reach us through our website. If anything comes up following this meeting that you want more information on or want to hear more about, we really had a lot to talk about today. So I want to just say thank you to everyone for their time. And yeah, keep us posted. Would love to hear from folks, especially on future topics and or speakers, because we'd like to get some more folks in here. So again, thank you everyone very much for your time, and hope you have a great evening. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye-bye.